We had so many different screenings, and we did something a little unusual is we spent a lot of time focusing on the story. Actually, before we brought in our tech teams, we just had story and edit working for a long time.
Guys, what a beautiful movie, top to bottom, from story, animation, stunning. I absolutely love this movie. The world building is incredible. Can you talk about developing the world of Elemental?
Yeah, I mean, not only was it a crazy journey, it was a fun one. Look, we had to make this city up from scratch, but we had to start somewhere, and the starting of that was with Ember. Like, what would be tough for fire? Water. And so we started looking at water cities and used that as the infrastructure, and then having fun with the artists, making like, well, what does a water building look like? What about champagnes on top of each other, or a chemistry set? And
what would they sit in?
Yeah. So many funny ideas, but also trying to tie it to the main character.
Right. Now, what's something about the world that you weren't able to explore and made it also stand out from other Pixar worlds, kind of like Coco or Zootopia?
There were, because we had these 4 cultures of earth, fire, wind, and air, water, trying to exploit each one of those was a juggle. Like we're in a lot in Fire Town, we've got some water neighborhoods, but like the Earth neighborhood was still always the one that we were like, oh, we could do so much more with there. And so that was, if that's what you were asking about, what cities we didn't get to explore.
Well, and we were going to spend a little more time in Fireland too.
Yeah,
the
homeland.
The homeland. Yeah. So that was,
I want to talk about the animation for a second because like this animation is gorgeous and it feels like you guys almost created a new form of animation for some of these scenes. Can you talk about the process of putting elements like water and fire on screen and different types of animation you used and tested?
Yeah, there was nothing like this here at Pixar before. Right. We're just doing toys and cars and humans, and there was no roadmap. And so you really had to start with like a clean slate, and started from drawings and then getting a technical team to do crazy experiments. These were mad scientist experiments that like a Frankenstein of like fire would come out and you're like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, but Pete always wanted them to be be fire, not on fire. And so the first thing is like, okay, what are they going to look like? Yeah. So finding that look took a long time. And then you had to figure out, how do you control the fire? And, how do you actually animate it? Yeah. So it was a pretty lengthy process. And then we were doing all of that from home, and the plan was we were all going to be together doing that.
From my understanding, there were a number of different versions of this movie over the course of development and production before you landed on this one. Why did this version work the best? And can you talk about unlocking the key to making Elemental work?
Yeah, so much of this heart was about this connection between fire and water, right? It's, I tried other relationships with other elements, but they just never had this tension and this like sort of power to it. And so the other versions of the story, there was like one with a villain that was about trying to take over the city, this crazy city. And there were versions where there was a war going on between businesses and everything. But they all pulled away from this connection between fire and water. And anytime we pulled away, it wasn't just us going like, oh, we miss them. The whole studio was just like, no, we want, we love these characters. It's about that. And so it kept telling us it wanted to be this story of connection,
Lots of iteration. We had so many different screenings, and we did something a little unusual is we spent a lot of time focusing on the story. Actually, before we brought in our tech teams, we just had story and edit working for a long time.
That's incredible. Now, you guys both worked on The Good Dinosaur together. What did you learn from that experience that you took over to this film?
I learned that what I learned on the last film didn't really apply on this one, actually. Yeah, it was a different experience. Inheriting something versus starting something from scratch is very different. So, Pete's the first director that I've worked with 2 projects in a row, and I was like, I'm going to be so much better. I'm so much better for producer for him this time around. And
the idea of the Good Dino was so fast.
Yeah.
You were just running on instinct for like the 18 months. We could have made like 15 different Good Dinos at the time.
Which you said a couple of times during it.
But more than anything, being transparent and vulnerable as you're making something was a real lesson because there was nowhere to hide with Good Dino. You just were like, this is it. It's raw. Let's do this. And I remember feeling a connection with the crew that I really loved, and it was trying to bring that to this one as well.
And I would say that's something that was that I really admired about Pete on The Good Dinosaur was his connection to the crew And that is definitely what he brought to this one as well.
Now, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've done a ton of voice acting yourself. How did that help you kind of direct the cast in this film?
Yeah, I mean, most of the characters that I've done are all really small, but even as small as they are, you're always having to be goofy or trying to find some emotion somewhere. And if you don't feel comfortable, or if it doesn't feel safe in there to do it, it's hard to get it out. And so that was a big lesson for me as I was going into the direction of these characters, knowing how far these characters needed to emote. It was always about creating a safe space. That's all the game was.
This movie had me thinking when I left, because I think in a lot of ways I related so much to these characters because I didn't follow in my dad's footsteps with his business. So as a second generation American, it just hit me. So can you talk to me about just where the story came from?
I mean, it came from that exact same feel of like knowing that there was this sort of burden of responsibility that you just automatically get, knowing that your parents were from somewhere else, or that they had given so much, they fought so much to get this present future for you, that when they say, okay, we worked so hard for this so that you can take it over, and the guilt of like, I don't know about that, I don't know if that's the future, really was early seeds to this whole thing.
I thank you guys so much for your time. This movie is incredible from top to bottom.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
I loved it.
Oh,
so
thank you.
much.
You guys are amazing.
Where's your family from?
So my dad is, he's German and Irish, and my mom is Thai and Japanese.
Yeah, right on.
So
All right.
yeah, it's,
all right.
so
Okay.
I completely related.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
I mean, this movie's for everybody. Like,
I agree. I
Thank
agree.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.